Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family a part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Today we're going to be talking about some of the stuff you're going to be seeing on TV in the world of sports coming up on Christmas Day. But before I get into that, let me say I've got two shout outs coming up at the end of the video, so please stay tuned for those. Now, I'm old enough to remember that back in the day, on Christmas Day, they had this bowl game, and it was called the Blue-Gray Classic. And it was basically the college football players who were seniors whose team did not make it to a bowl game. So to give all of them one final game, they took all the guys from the East Coast and put them on one team, and all the guys from the West Coast and put them on one team. But of course, nowadays, there's so many bowl games that there's not enough teams available to have a bunch of seniors who did not make it to bowl games. So the Blue-Gray Classic is no longer around. So for the most part now, Christmas Day is just NBA. The NBA always has 5 games in a row on Christmas Day starting at noontime, but usually that's all that's on Christmas Day. So usually if you're a sports fan, it's either watching old games or watching the NBA, and that's the only choices that you have. But this year, since Christmas is on a Saturday, we have more than one option, because if you follow the NFL, you know starting in mid-December, the NFL has Saturday football, since there's no college football in the middle of September on Saturdays, except for a few small bowl games. So tomorrow we have the NBA and we have the NFL, and we even have a bowl game this year on a Saturday. Now, NBA-wise, usually every year the Knicks are always involved in it, because even though the Knicks pretty much suck every year, it's a large market, so you want a large market team on television, and there is no larger market than New York City. And of course, they brought in Tom Thibodeau now as their coach, and they do have better talent this year than they've had in a while. But for whatever reason, even though Thibodeau is supposed to be a good coach and they have the talent, they still suck. But this is probably the worst schedule I've seen as far as the NBA goes on Christmas Day, because normally they try to stack a bunch of good games with good teams involved. And of course, the Christmas Day schedule is set, before the season starts. So it's not like they just set it last week. So when you set the schedule, it's anticipating good games, but I think it's going to backfire this year. There's going to be one game out of the 5 that I think is going to be worth watching, and that's it. The noon game is going to be the Hawks and the aforementioned Knicks. And I know if you follow the channel before the season started, I picked the Hawks to have a good season, and they still have a pretty good chance too, but for whatever reason, they just haven't looked good this year. Nate McMillan is a good coach, a highly respected coach, and he turned them around last year, but this year so far it just hasn't happened. So that Hawks and Knicks game should be a good game between two average teams, but nothing compelling. And then of course you have the Celtics and the Bucks, which the Bucks are on because they have Giannis, who has not played in a while. So of course the Bucks are going to need him back desperately by tomorrow. And then you have the one game that I think is going to be a good game. In my opinion, it's the 2 best teams in the NBA right now, and that is the Warriors and the Suns. We know how good the Suns were last year, and they're playing even better so far this year. And then we have the letdown game with the Nets and the Lakers. And of course, we know, if you're a longtime basketball fan, we know that Bill Russell won 11 championships, and he didn't have all that Hall of Fame talent around him. And we also know that in a little bit more modern day, Larry Bird won championships. He didn't have all that Hall of Fame talent around him. But now LeBron James, he can't win all the championships without all the Hall of Fame talent around him. So, he stacked all the Hall of Fame talent in Miami and he won him a championship. And now he goes to the Lakers and tries to build this Hall of Fame team. He runs off Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. He runs off Montrezl Harrell. He runs off Kyle Kuzma. And look what those guys are doing now in Washington. And here the Lakers sit in late December, and they're below 500. And now we know their second best player behind LeBron is Anthony Davis. And, of course, he's out hurt. And the Nets have James Harden, who just has not been the same all this year. And now they're playing Kyrie part-time, which is just flat-out stupid. So this game should be ugly. And I mean ugly. And then, of course, the late game tomorrow night for the NBA is the Mavericks and the Jazz. And this game is on because the Mavericks have Luka, but Luka is currently out hurt. So when the NBA set this schedule, the Hawks and Knicks looked like a good game because it was a good playoff series last year. And thought it was going to be two good teams this year. And so far it just hasn't worked out. And then the Celtics and Bucks got scheduled because of Giannis. And, of course, the Warriors and Suns, you've got Stephen Curry and Chris Paul. And then the Nets and Lakers, you have Harden and LeBron and Durant and hopefully Kyrie. And then with the Mavericks and Jazz, you have Luka. So they do this, that way all the superstars are playing because most NBA fans don't have a team. They follow superstars. So in order to get folks to watch on Christmas Day, you schedule all the teams that have the superstars. But then the Bucks don't have Giannis, and it's looking like the Lakers for sure ain't going to have Davis, and the Mavericks don't have Luka. So most of these team superstars aren't going to play. But we also have the Camellia Bowl coming up tomorrow at 2:30, which is the battle of two states, and which one is a state and one is not a state. If anybody can tell me where Ball is as a state, please feel free to let me know. But we have the Camellia Bowl, which is Ball State and Georgia State. And in the world of the NFL, we have a doubleheader with the Browns and the Packers. And then we have the Colts and the Cardinals. And hopefully after the Browns miss the playoffs this year, people will slow down on their Baker Mayfield talk, because every year now it's the Browns are back, the Browns are a playoff team, and the Browns are just an average football team. And I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. It's getting close to the time for the Browns to make a decision on whether or not they want to keep Baker Mayfield, because they keep trying to claim he's some great quarterback, but yet he's not. If you compare his numbers to modern NFL quarterbacks, he's average at best, and that's being kind. But if you compare him to the last 20 quarterbacks they've had before him, he's great. So we'll see coming up here very soon what the Browns are going to do with him. And also I want to know if anybody out there feels the way I feel about Aaron Rodgers. I feel like talent-wise, Aaron Rodgers has all the tools. He has the best and most accurate arm I've ever seen for a quarterback. But for whatever reason, he just can't put it together in the playoffs. And back when Peyton Manning played, Peyton Manning was always known for being the guy that couldn't win the big game. Even back when he was in college, if you recall, Steve Spurrier one time when he was coaching Florida made the comment that you can't spell citrus without UT, and that was because back in those days the Citrus Bowl was a big bowl game, but it wasn't quite a national championship game. And Steve Spurrier said that because Tennessee couldn't beat Florida, and the next bowl game in line was the Citrus Bowl. So Peyton Manning was always known as the guy that put up big numbers but couldn't win when it mattered. And to me, I feel that way about Aaron Rodgers. Green Bay has phenomenal talent every year, and every year they look like one of the best teams in the NFL, but then they go to the playoffs, and by the second round, they're done. So to me, if the Packers don't make a deep run this year in the playoffs, especially with the mediocrity this year in the NFL, Aaron Rodgers needs to be considered another great quarterback that just can't win the big game, because ever since they won their Super Bowl, he's been either right at 500 or below 500 in the playoffs. And then the Colts and Cardinals should be a good game, because the Colts by far have the best running game in the NFL with Jonathan Taylor. It's not even close. He's a phenomenal running back. If it wasn't the day and time where quarterbacks win every award, then I think Jonathan Taylor would win the MVP, and he should win the MVP. But he won't, because he's a running back now in a quarterback-driven league. But the Colts have a great running game, and the Cardinals cannot stop the run. So don't be surprised to see the Colts just run the ball. And they've gotten better and better as the year has went on, because they're not depending on Carson Wentz to do a whole lot, which is good. And for whatever reason, the Cardinals look like they are doing what they did last year, which is collapse late in the season. And even when Cliff Kingsbury was at Texas Tech, he did the same thing. Texas Tech would always start out not great, but good, and by mid-late October, they'd fall apart. And now his Cardinals look like this year they're doing it again. So don't be surprised to see the Colts beat the Cardinals on Christmas night. Any thoughts on any of the games coming up tomorrow, whether it's NBA, college football, or the NFL? Please feel free to let me know. My shout-outs today, first one goes out to my man Todd, which, by the way, isn't that a great name? I know when your mom really loves you, she names you Brandon, but when she loves you a lot, she names you Todd. See, mine love me so much, I got both names. But we got Todd, who lives in the upstate of South Carolina. He is a Clemson fan, wanted me to say, go Tigers. And then we've got my man Davey, who I used to see a lot at SWA shows as the referee. He was coming to every single show there for a long time. Both of these guys subscribed to the channel yesterday. So Todd and Davey, thank both you guys so much for subscribing. And now if you do so choose to comment on any video at any time, you will be eligible for our 1,000 subscriber giveaway when we get to 1,000 subscribers. So thanks again for subscribing, and give the video a thumbs up. Tell your friends, tell your family, and help the channel continue to grow. And the best way to do that is to spread the word and share the links with your family, and give the video a thumbs up. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What do you call a snowman with a six-pack? An abdominal snowman. And that wraps it up for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.